To ignore Islam as a valid, viable spiritual tradition is to deny a true spiritual objectivity. These two factors are essential to consider when attempting to arrive at a universal spirituality. In many parts of the world, Christianity is commonplace and taken for granted, just as Buddhism has become fashionable among the Western elite. You cannot have a truly universal spirituality unless you consider the common basis of Buddha and Muhammad. Viewing the parallelism of purpose between these two messengers allows us to talk about an objective spirituality. The spirituality or universal religion you are is confirmed by the Telectonon prophecy of Votan. To understand the large structure of meaning within the prophecy of Votan, and to a lesser degree the traditions of Chilam Balam and Quetzalcoatl, it is necessary to shed light on the meaning of Buddha and Muhammad, and the relationship of the Quran to the teachings of Buddha and Christ. From the avataric perception of the prophecy of Votan, the spiritual history of the planet is a single integrated circuit. The failure is not of the teachers or the teachings, but of the psychogenetic disposition of the human species embedded in the world of historical materialism. The introduction of the Telectonon prophecy of Votan says it is one living prophecy, and that it is a proclamation on behalf of the three messengers of the awakening, and the three spatial voices of prophecy, and the special witness of time. In the prophecy, Buddha, Christ, and Muhammad are identified as the three messengers of the awakening of you are, universal religion, universal recollection. While the Quran affirms itself as the criterion for all the previous traditions, so does the Telectonon confirm and validate the Quran. The Quran as well as the Telectonon also takes us to a higher point of seeing the larger structure. This larger structure of spirituality rooted in these messengers is the very foundation of the cosmic history, the cosmic religion, and the coming of you are. The synchronic order is the guiding force of the program of cosmic history, for that is the way the three messengers are comprehended as a unity. The cultural frame or label of materialism is too conditioned to sustain the unified purpose of Buddha, Christ, and Muhammad. The confirmation of the equality of Muhammad, Christ, and Buddha could only come from an outside tradition. This is the purpose of the prophecy of Votan, to affirm these three messengers, Buddha, Christ, and Muhammad, as constituting a larger structure of meaning, extending from you are of primal origins to the you are of post-historic reality. Christ and Muhammad both come from the tradition that trace back to Abraham. Abraham precedes Moses, and those referred to as the patriarchs of the Judeo-Christian religion all stem from Abraham, and are also the patriarchs of the Islamic tradition. Islam says what Moses taught and what Christ taught are the same. They are not different traditions, but men dispute and make it so. The Quran exists as the supreme affirmation of the monotheism embedded in this tradition. It is not clear that Christ himself ever said he wanted a religion started in his name. It was clear that he had a most charismatic personality and taught in parables and allegories on the mystical nature of God. His admonitions on love and compassion had a very strong influence on all who heard them. But to say he was out to found a new religion or create a Christian doctrine, we do not know. Likewise, Buddha never said he was starting a religion. He was simply teaching the Dharma. Nonetheless, after Emperor Ashoka, the teachings of Buddha became known as Buddhism and spread from India to Central Asia to Afghanistan, and eventually by the 1st century it spread to China and Southeast Asia. It is clear in the Quran that Muhammad was instructed to found the religion of Islam, or submission to the will of God. Muhammad was referred to as the seal of the prophets, and no religion in the world spread faster than Islam. Within 2 centuries after Muhammad's departure, in 632, Islam spread from the Atlantic to the Pacific, stretching across North Africa into Spain, and even across the Pyrenees into southern France, across the Middle East, reaching the India subcontinent, and into Central Asia. Over the next 4 or 5 centuries, Islam coursed deeper into Africa, all across India, Southeast Asia, Indonesia, and into western parts of China. This has remained essentially the place of Islam today. The Christians, of course, were resentful of Islam for several reasons. Islam had taken control of Jerusalem, and the Quran says that all messengers are one and sent by one God, and have the same message. It says no distinction is made between the messengers in the Quran. In the Quran, Jesus is considered the chief messenger and predecessor of Muhammad. There is much about Christ and Moses in the Quran. Christians did not like the Quran, because the Quran says Christ was not the Son of God, and the Trinity is just an invented doctrine after Christ. This goes to the very root of Christian doctrine. If the Christians were to accept this, they would have to accept Islam.